Welcome back to the $1 Billion Podcast. This is the couch where we're a couple $1 billion guys talk about a few $1 billion companies and a couple $1 billion ideas. What a great show.
And we're exposing $1 billion fraud.
Yes. So that is something that Matt and I, just a quick heads up, the new direction of the show is complete authenticity. We will not lie to the people about anything.
No.
And so therefore, we must start a segment called Conspiracy Realists. So what is this term conspiracy theorists? Well, that's a term that should never be used on this show because realists go out there and look at all the information objectively and make their own conclusions and do not believe what they're told.
I have a definition of conspiracy. It's what amounts to be true in 7 to 12 months.
No. It's 7 to 12 years.
I don't know about that, but the way things are moving now, it's quicker.
So, okay. On my COVID corner today, could I talk my COVID conspiracy?
Yeah.
Really?
I have a pretty big conspiracy one on mine too. So
okay, perfect. Well. Yeah. So hey, guys, heads up. Let's everyone get our tinfoil hats on for today's episode.
That's right.
We have to talk about our sponsor today. This is a conspiracy realist episode, and we have our real sponsor who is destroying the industry of publishing.
You didn't tell me that.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, Matt.
So, I don't know much about this.
You don't know much about the publishing? No. Oh, okay. I can't wait to tell Matt about all the publishing process. So, by the way, for everyone who doesn't know, we are publishing. So, my first big project after stepping down as CEO was to publish a book. And I'm not sure of, are we going to change the title or is the title in stone?
It's a working title.
It's a working title. The working title is Dental Moneyball. And I just submitted the manuscript to Matt.
Can't wait to read it.
So, I think at this point, based on the analytics and the process, I think that Amazon bestseller and Wall Street Journal bestseller are in play.
Whoa. You can't walk that back once you say something.
No. I'm standing by that.
Oh, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know the metrics to hit those.
Okay.
And
you care to share the metrics?
So I believe it is 3,000 copies sold in the first month.
Okay.
Is both of those titles done? So if I could sell 3,000 copies of a book, then great. So that's how you get those two titles. To get on the New York Times bestseller, you have to go through one of the 5 New York publishing houses for the most part. And that process takes about 18 months.
Sounds like a scam.
And they release them. The reason it takes 18 months is because they need to wait in line for the New York Times bestseller.
What a joke.
The 5 publishing houses in New York have a complete monopoly over the New York Times.
So that term means nothing. Basically.
Yeah, the New York Times bestseller means went to major publishing house, but there is a self-published New York Times bestseller, David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me. So Matt, you know this book, right?
Yeah, I read it. It was great.
It's an amazing book. It's like jaw-dropping. And what Goggins did is he self-published the book and said a big FU to the 5 New York publishing houses that like guarantee the bestseller, but also take all the rights. And he's like, I'm going to have my own rights. And he earned a New York Times bestseller anyway. And the guy that we're using or we're thinking about using for publishing our book is the guy that published Goggins' book.
So was he the first to ever self-publish?
No, he wasn't the first, but this was a very big self-publish because that he sold so many copies and became such a big deal that the New York Times would have lost credibility if they didn't give him a New York Times
I always
bestseller.
thought self-publishing means you literally print them all out, ship them all out yourself. So that's not what that means.
So initially, yeah, right. That's the true term of self-publishing. But now what there's called self-publishing hybrids. So there are professional publishing institutes that are consulting agreements only. You pay them a flat fee and they'll publish your book for you. And they have the same process. Professional writers review it, all of that. And then that process takes 6 months, but then you retain all of the rights and they'll ISBN it, put it on Amazon, get the whole distribution set up, and you just pay the cost directly to the people that are doing those things.
And you pay, like you're paying a flat fee, not a residual of each purchase, or is it a residual also?
No, so the way it works is you put your books in databases and they print on order. So they don't actually have copies anymore. So like if we put it on, it's probably going to be on Amazon, Audible.
That's like our ownership accelerator where we just print it on
exactly.
purchase.
We print it on purchase. Exactly. So this is going to be a print on purchase. So it's just going to be like, I'd imagine if the book's like $10, maybe our margin on it is like I mean, it's going to be as small as possible. I don't know what the margins are on
Right.
printing. We'll update you guys.
Yeah, no,
If people want to
very
know
upfront
how much we make
on
per-
how much
per
money we
book.
make or don't make on this.
Yeah. No. This is the most profitable way per book to publish a book.
Gotcha. Nice.
Like variable cost long term in
Uh-huh.
terms of to the author. Yep. So Scribe Publishing is our sponsor today because they are the ones that give you the rights to your own intellectual property and will still allow you access to publishing. So
Nice.
Scribe Publishing, standing up for the little guy.
Great company, great people.
Yeah, great company.
Everyone loves the underdogs, and people who support underdogs are people that we support.
Yeah, and I like that, when you go with a bigger publisher, they guarantee you things like distribution, fame, all that, but then you lose all of your rights. And that's not something we do at Shared Practices.
No.
We do not lose our rights.
Wait, what do you mean lose rights? Like what kind of rights?
So like the IP. So like for example,
so they own it.
They own all of the things in it, and we cannot distribute it without them. So we cannot print a book and give it to somebody on our behalf.
Mhm.
They have to do that.
Not happening under our watch.
Nope.
Tell you that much.
So in terms of preserving rights and doing everything in our power to keep our own rights, what do we have in line? Let's give a preview for COVID Corner today.
We have a good one. I have a lot of different small things, and then my big topic today is going to be a deep dive on data of the deaths and hospitalizations of the vaxxed versus unvaxxed. And you'll have to bear with me because I prepared this, but it's extremely confusing. So I'm going to give you a basic overview of it, and then you can kind of take it for what it is.
Perfect.
I don't have your data background, George, so I had to Google things. I had to read it a couple times. It was a struggle.
Really?
Yeah.
So what kind of statistics were you trying to figure out?
So the hypothesis, and I'll get into it obviously, but is that they are over quantifying the percentage of unvaxxed deaths based on two different reasons. They're both overestimating the numerator and the denominator in making this calculation.
Okay.
It'll make
I would
sense.
need to look that up too.
It'll make sense
Yeah,
when
I would need
when
to
go
see
through.
how they're doing that.
Yeah. So that's good. And then we're going to talk. We got a question from Evan about a bad business model. So we're going to talk about Blockbuster, of course.
I love that.
Failed business model. Went from $3 billion in revenue in 2010 to Chapter 11 bankruptcy like months later.
Wow.
Oops.
And then what I got is, so I've got some conspiracy realist topics on COVID, and then we're going to talk Super Bowl, and I'm actually going to talk about everything that I know about the NFL and NBA. Maybe not everything, but a lot about the not so great side of it. And then I got a great segment if we have time today on the Washington DC city planning. Mm-hmm. So I am going there coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, you're real excited for this trip, huh?
I am so excited for this trip. Yes.
Wait, and you just got back from Belize, right?
I did yesterday.
How was that?
Yeah, I mean, have you ever been?
No.
So Belize is in Central America, and it is the only country in Central America that speaks English.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's like kind of connected to the Caribbean. So they speak 3 languages. There's kind of like this African Creole dialect, and then there's English. That's their country's most common language. Everyone speaks English, and then there's Spanish, which I was hoping to speak more of, and I didn't really get the opportunity. And so it was really, really cool place, and I thought it was really interesting. It used to be a British colony. They're sort of like he said protected by the British. I don't know what that means. But they have their prime minister is actually was a Blue Party, U.S. Blue Party guy. So
what was the set? Like, where did you stay?
So we stayed at an Airbnb up in just some condo. It was on the water over there on Ambercus Cay. It's an island. It's kind of like I think it's like 7 miles long.
Did you like go out to restaurants? You have a cook that helped you, or?
No. So it was just Austin and I and our wives, and we went to. I mean, yeah, we went out to eat a little bit here and there. We went to a lot of like food truck type places. There's not a whole lot of. The place is extremely underdeveloped. Like there's 400,000 people that live in this country. Like it's tiny. It's very remote. But that's what I like. I like really the third world feel. And so that reminded me of Syria. I used to go to Syria a lot growing up, and that reminded me a lot of that. And, obviously I like speaking Spanish, so I like Spanish speaking places. So for me, seafood, yeah, it was a great time.
Nice.
Love it there. I would highly recommend this place.
Good to know.
I think it's a next honeymoon destination for sure.
Yeah, I have heard good things.
Yeah, great spot.
It's a big like dental mission country too.
Is it really?
Yeah, I had friends who went there.
Yeah, I mean, I could see why you'd want to do that.
Yeah.
Did you ever go on any of those trips?
No, I kind of wish I had.
Yeah, same. Yeah, that would have been a good time.
That's always something we've been kicked around about at SP of doing something like that in the future. Maybe sponsoring like a little dental clinic down there somewhere. Third
Yeah, I
world.
know Richard's really passionate about dentists doing good.
Yes.
Okay, so do we want to head into COVID corner?
Sure. All right. So I got some smaller things, and then I'll get into my data stuff. So great development out of San Francisco yesterday. So they had a recall election on the school board members. Now, San Francisco is one of the places that closed schools for longer than anyone up until 2021, and deep into 2021. So they just recalled 3 of the board of education members who were instrumental in keeping these schools closed. So the voters, more than 70% voted these people out.
Really?
It's a big sign that you don't fuck around with kids. You'll get voted out. And you have these kind of progressive policies. And the next they're going after is Chesa Boudin, who's a DA in San Francisco, who's single-handedly responsible for the rising crime in that city due to his incarceration or decarceration methods. So good stuff coming out of San Francisco.
Wow.
I applaud the people there.
Wow, I can't believe that that's like really shocking of all places in the country.
And it's over 70% of the vote. So it was a landslide. These people were kicked out. Loved it.
That is
So good.
insane.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
That is wild. Wow. They must pivot quickly. They have to pivot fast.
Yeah. No.
This is a problem.
It's big problem. So we saw a lot of countries now scrapping their COVID restrictions. You know, the COVID hysteria is crumbling by the second. United Kingdom, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Israel, Spain, Italy, Denmark, Israel, just to name several, have either dropped all COVID restrictions, most of them, or some of them dropped their mask mandates, some of them dropped their green pass.
Did you see, what was it, Spain? It was like, you can now wear masks. You don't have to wear masks outdoors anymore. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Spain and Italy, you don't have to wear masks outdoors anymore. Thank you.
This is bad.
All-knowing beings.
Wait. So what is the COVID restrictions like in Europe right now?
Well, like I said, some of them, like the UK, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, they have no more COVID restrictions. Like none. It's all over. Other ones will have vaccine requirements to get into restaurants, to travel, mask mandates indoors, but they're crumbling. It's all coming. It's all happening. I'm coming out ahead. This is my year to win. All right. I put up with a lot of shit the last 2 years. It's my time. And by me, I mean people who think, with reason and logic and science. All right. Next up, the CDC is expected to update their antiquated mask guidelines early next week. Again, convenient timing heading out right before Biden's State of the Union. So my prediction for that new update is that they're going to say fully vaccinated individuals no longer should wear masks indoors or need to wear masks indoors. That's what's going to come out beginning of next week.
What do you think about that?
It's good because like a lot of states and businesses still use CDC guidelines. So
isn't that crazy?
It's actually pretty important, and it could be the first domino to fall to get us out of masks on planes. And speaking of which, if you're watching on YouTube, I have my new.
You got the fake incognito surgical mask.
I have the surgical mask, fake incognito. Let me just.
Oh my gosh, that looks so much better.
And I'm breathing. Like it looks like I'm fully covered up, right? I got it above my nose.
Yeah, this is great mask protocol.
I'm breathing fine. I feel
great.
Wow,
white is the color. I mean, I used my black yesterday and
Black's
it was fine. I mean, I've been using the black. No one's been telling me not to.
Oh, you've been good with the black?
Yeah, I've been good with the black, but I mean, that's a surgical mask?
Yep.
That's really not a surgical mask. I mean, that's just a white color. I mean, what is this? Come on.
I will do my next segment with this mask on.
This is not a surgical mask.
$13 for 2 of them, including shipping. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I just got a text this morning. I should probably respond and buy.
I didn't Scribe again. They are ruthless with their emails.
No, I get so many texts from that stupid company.
I don't
from them one time.
I don't want to buy a Kyle Rittenhouse memorabilia thing. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna
And they have
not gonna
let's
do
go
that.
Brandon bumper stickers.
Yeah.
And...
I mean, when I saw the Rittenhouse stuff, I was like, really? Like, we're gonna support this guy who killed some people? Like, come on, what are we doing? I mean, come on, clean it up. All right.
I like when even you think it's too far.
I mean, that's a little. That's not a little. That is too far. Like
the mass hole thinks it's too far.
Yes, that's too far. All right. Have you been following the Canada stuff? This is wild.
What Canada stuff?
What Canada? So the trucker convoy still going, still peacefully protesting, still occupying a lot of Ontario. The Prime Minister is catching tons of heat. So Justin Trudeau, he invoked the never before used emergency federal powers in response to nationwide protests. So the Emergency Act in Canada defines a national emergency as one that seriously endangers the lives, health, or safety of Canadians and is of such proportions of or nature as to exceed the capacity or authority of a province to deal with. He is saying these peaceful protests are seriously endangering the lives and health and safety of Canadians.
You guys should have seen the gesture Matt did for peaceful protest. He did this under the mic.
Yes, they are peaceful. They really are peaceful protests. And the fact that Prime Minister would invoke these kind of wartime measures that have never been done before is just insane.
The fact that they've never been done before.
Nope.
Yeah.
And worse, and like, added on to this, their government is also going after any kind of financial support for these protests. So they are freezing funds of people who donate to these protests.
Wow.
It brings back to the thing of like, what is money if the government can just take it away, stop it? Like, what are we doing here? Bitcoin solves all of this.
Oh man, okay. Can we take a pause on that point and talk about the financial part of COVID?
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you not remember at the beginning of Trump's presidency, there was all this talk about the trade war on China?
Mm-hmm.
Remember this was like a big thing?
Yeah, I didn't follow it much, but yeah.
And notice, where'd the conversation go with the trade war with China?
Don't know.
Trade war with China. Remember? That was the conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Trade war with China.
Okay.
All of that conversation stopped in March of 2020.
Weird.
Now we have a different war with China.
Uh-huh.
A viral war.
What are you getting at?
I'm getting at the fact that they had been talking about this before. It was called trade war. And so if you look at the sole financial thing that happened with COVID, right? Let's completely remove all of the science and just talk economics, macroeconomics. So what was happening right before COVID was China was turning up their money printer and devaluing their currency. So the Treasury in 2015 through 2019, there are different quotes from the United States of America talking about how angry they are with China's currency manipulation. And so the way that it works is the Chinese yuan is 7-1 with the dollar at all times. It's kind of like an understood, those are the two like stable currencies that everything else is kind of based on. And China's cheating this is from the US's perspective because they're increasing the amount of yuan and keeping the rate locked.
Right.
And so what has happened post-COVID is now both countries have turned on the money printers, and the United States has printed at this point exactly almost like 50% of the total dollars in circulation
it is 50%.
Have been printed at the beginning of COVID, right? And so some people feel that this allows the economies of both of these nations to have an opportunity to print money ad nauseum, which is it's an excuse, right? It's an excuse.
And why would they want to be printing money at just high rates?
So if you think about it, right, like if you think of the US dollar, it's used worldwide. It's the
reserve currency for the world.
Yeah, exactly. At the moment, it is the currency that is the most used. And the only people that can make US dollars are the United States of America. And so what the United States of America is doing is they are creating new dollars and entering them into the United States economy and entrapping them there and keeping them closed. It's essentially economic warfare, right? Okay. That's if you look at, so let's leave all the science out of it. I'm not saying anything on public health. If we just look at what's happened economically, what started as a trade war is now a currency war. And it's, I mean, if you look it up, Austin is actually the one that was sort of debriefing me on this. So I actually understand it a lot better now. But if you look up, both countries are extremely aggressive in the printing of new currency. It's quite insane.
Yeah, it's just the way that they use, a pandemic, a war, whatever it is, as an opportunity to do what they couldn't do before. And now they have an excuse.
Right. And the idea is if you inject the dollars directly into the United States economy in many different industries in all different ways, directly into the people's hands in all different types of fashions, then you're increasing the gross domestic product and the strength of your sort of local economy. So that's kind of the macroeconomic.
Have we seen the gross domestic product go up significantly in this time?
I mean, I actually don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah,
That
let's
might be a
find
good
out.
thing to look.
Because I don't think it has increased like it should have. For a lot of reasons. They restrict businesses. They do a lockdown. They don't recover as fast enough. People are still worried about getting sick, so they don't act in a typical consumer fashion. He's looking it up
Okay.
now.
So let's see what we got here. We have the GDP for the United States of America is down 3%. Yeah, no.
That doesn't sound right. Shouldn't it be growing year over year?
GDP is so 20 was down 3.5%, which I mean
That makes sense.
compared to 19, right? That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And they don't have the numbers for 21 yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, to only lose 3 to 5% in a pandemic year, that's the most recent data they have on that. But if you look at the stock market, what's happened, right? I think, okay, so Matt, you're wondering where the dollars are going, right? They're going into investments. So they're going into real estate, they're going into stocks, they're going into anything that can hold financial value right now is going up in price.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of dollars that need to be put places.
And when the dollar is devalued, people are better served by putting them in assets rather than keeping them in cash and bank accounts.
Exactly. Yep.
Something that'll grow over time.
So go ahead.
All right. So we want to do my deep dive?
Yep.
We good on that? Okay. So all of this was pulled. I want to give a shout out to a great Twitter follow. His ad is at Hold2LLC. He's a data scientist on Twitter, something I've been followed since a while in the pandemic.
Wait, what's his name?
Hold2, the number 2, LLC.
Perfect.
So we've seen a lot of statistics thrown around in news and articles. Things like the unvaccinated are 20 times more likely to die or be in hospitalization from COVID. George, have you seen those kind of stats floating around? Like the unvaccinated are X number more likely to die.
Yes.
Okay. Now there's severe doubt about the accuracy of those numbers that you've seen floating around, and I'm going to get into why. As I said, there are problems with the numerator and with the denominator in making that determination. So we're going to start with the denominator. What's the problem there? Okay. So let's just say we have a population of 10 unvaccinated people and 5 of them die. Okay. Death rate unvaccinated, 50%. We have 50 vaccinated people and 5 die. Death rate of the vaccinated, 10%. So therefore, the death rate of the unvaccinated is five times more than the vaccinated. Okay. All that?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do they calculate the unvaccinated population size, right? Like the total number of people in the country who are unvaccinated.
Yeah, how do they count that?
That's a denominator. Okay.
Yeah, how do they count that?
The way the CDC calculates that is by subtracting everyone who's fully vaccinated, everyone they have record of who's fully vaccinated, from the 2019 population in the United States. Okay, now what's the problem there? Well, you're using data that's 3 years old. And it's estimated that 16 million more people are in America in 2022 than there were in 2019. So what are they doing there? They're artificially lowering the denominator by making it a lot less. They're comparing it to population that was three years ago.
Okay.
That making sense?
Yeah.
So that would be like if, I gave the example of 10 unvaccinated people, 5 die. Well, because of this, take off 1 from the total population of unvaccinated, make it 9. Now it's 5 divided by 9. The percentage of the vaccinated who are dying goes up because the denominator is lower.
And then that 48 million or 16 million people you said that are the difference, that would be straight. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going a little bit further. So, okay, I'll get to that. Now the problem with the numerator, okay? The number of people who are dying who are unvaccinated. So here's how they calculate or how they determine an unvaccinated death. It must be 14 days post second vaccination to be counted as a vaccinated death. Okay. Get your 2 shots, wait 14 days. Now you're fully vaccinated officially. Now that's only if they find a matching vax record at the hospital.
What?
So the hospital places automatically every case, hospitalization, death, in which they can't prove that the patient is vaccinated into the unvaccinated bucket.
What?
So what are they doing there?
Wait.
Yeah,
What do you mean? If they can't find it on them?
Yeah. No, not on. They just, I don't know how they find it, but if they can't find it, you are unvaxxed.
Well, do you not realize that this is the least organized vaccine record keeping system ever?
Yeah. Yeah. So they're not comparing the deaths of vaccinated, unvaccinated. They're comparing vaccinated
Wow.
to unverified, as in they can't find the record, or even someone who's been vaccinated within 14 days. They're counting them as unvaccinated.
That's crazy.
So that's going to artificially raise the numerator. So now you have both dropped the denominator and you have raised the numerator, thus making that data artificially higher, as in the unvaccinated are dying at a higher percentage.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So let's play out this scenario. So
Wow, that's a lot of data manipulation.
yes.
That's very intentional.
So let's play out the scenario. So let's
Wow.
say,
I mean, that's not intentional. It's just terrible methods, misleading.
yeah. So on the scale, so I gave the example of 10 total unvaccinated people, but that remember that denominator is wrong.
Mhm.
So let's make that 13 unvaccinated people. So now the death rate's 38%. Now add in the piece of the numerator. Let's say they misclassified a death as unvaccinated that was actually vaccinated. So you add, you take away some from the numerator. Now the death rate drops to 27%.
This podcast math, I don't think this is effective.
I told you it was hard to understand. But the point, the boiled down to the point of the numerator is artificially higher than it actually is, based on the hospitals not being able to verify if someone was vaccinated or not, and also the weird rule of waiting 14 days after a vaccination. If someone's got 2 shots, they're vaccinated. I don't care about this 14-day rule. And the population data from 2019 being the denominator.
Yeah. I mean, it's just on both parts, right?
On both sides.
The methods that they're using to estimate the number of unvaccinated are inflated
Mhm.
because of the fact that they have a faulty, very biased method there.
Mhm.
And then they're underestimating the number of people in the country.
Yeah.
So it's
So
flawed on both sides.
I'm not saying that vaccines haven't prevented death, because they have, and I'll go into like actual stats that prove that. But the scale at which they are saying it does is it's very much exaggerated. That's all I'm saying. So the crude data shows. So this is crude data not based on like population size. Is that death rates of unvaccinated people in the 65 plus age bracket are much higher. So if you're 65 and older and you don't get vaccinated, you are at a much higher risk of dying from COVID. That's been shown, proven. The data shows that. For the age range of 18 to 49, and George, you got to help me with this term. So 18 to 49-year-olds, there's only a 0.86 divided by 100,000 absolute reduction in dying if you are vaccinated. That's the difference of risks. That's a very small number to my understanding.
Yeah. So that absolute reduction means that if there's 1,000 people
Mhm.
And they all were to get vaccinated, likely you've saved one person. I think absolute reduction.
So, okay, this is my biggest issue with the pandemic response. We did not prioritize the vaccination and the protection of the people over 65 at all. We said everyone get vaccinated, healthcare workers first. Many of those people are in 1849. We knew this stuff. We knew it predominantly affects the elderly, and not even the elderly, people in their 70s, 80s. But we never made policy around that. We just did throw everything at the wall, at all people, at schools, kids in mass. Schools got to be vaccinated.
Can I see that absolute reduction statistic?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can understand that, because that doesn't seem right. Oh, 100K.
100K, 100,000.
Oh my gosh.
That is so
absolute reduction. It doesn't even mean that they're preventing death. It just means a reduction in the probability that you're going to die.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's worthless.
Yeah. So getting the vaccine if you're between 18 and 49 is statistically worthless.
Yeah. That's insane.
I know. And you'll never see that talked about.
Wow.
You have to find this weird Twitter data scientist to find.
I just followed Hood 2 LLC. I mean,
he's great.
Hold 2 LLC.
He makes great charts that are very easy to read and compare states that have mass mandates versus not, to show that the same curve rates and all that.
So I actually follow a lot of different statisticians on Twitter, and I'm always looking for good ones. So yeah. I mean, if this guy's great, that's awesome.
Yeah, and like this, I knew that, like, when you see those things in the news, like 20 times more likely, I'm just like, that can't possibly be true. Like it just can't. I don't know. Like I've seen how these vaccine performs. They don't stop you getting it or spreading it. There's no chance that it's performing that well. And here you go.
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny because I remember there was this episode of, I think it was Working Interferences. It was a dental podcast, and they talked about like if they had to invent a disease that would kill only old people, and they're like it has to be some pneumounia, and this was all
gosh.
pre-COVID,
Oh,
and they
no, really?
literally like spelled out COVID. And
That's
they're like,
amazing.
it would have to be a pneumonia that only targets old people and people with comorbidities, and like they like listed
There
out
it
like the
is.
perfect virus. And
Why were they talking about that? It's so random.
it was a population control thing that they were talking about. This was in 2019.
They
Like,
must be friends with Bill Gates.
yeah, I mean, I mean, this was 2019. Like, I just like the fact that that happened, and then I had to go back there and listen to it. It was really funny. But I think it goes to show, right? Like, this virus, intentional or not, is incredibly targeted towards the elderly population. And if you are not elderly, then you really are like, it doesn't do much to you.
And, maybe we can transition to the Super Bowl here, but you saw the Super Bowl, 100,000 people in LA, many celebrities, everyone unmasked. And the next day, kids have to go in LA to schools and wear masks for 8 hours a day.
Yeah, I know.
And California is in a state of emergency. They just had a Super Bowl with 100,000 people unmasked. What kind of emergency is this? What are we doing here?
Yeah, I mean, like, so this goes back to something that, unfortunately, as a society, our expectations of government are so unbelievably low that
they
this
still
to me seems normal.
they
Like, it
still
seems normal
underwhelm.
that it has this much hypocrisy and this much lack of logic. And like, you're setting an example on the worldwide stage of 100,000 people sitting outdoors right next to each other without a mask. And then the next day, your legislation says that you must. But like,
The
there's
mayor
just
of
such
LA,
a financial thing as Super Bowl.
the mayor of LA was photographed maskless at the game.
No, I mean everyone was maskless. What do you mean?
Yeah, but like he's the mayor of LA. In the NFC Championship game, the governor of California photographed on maskless. Like, did do they have a PR team? Do they have anyone helping with them optics? Hey, Governor Newsom, that might not be a great look for you if you get photographed without a mask on. Maybe you might want to like really wear one for this game.
So I have an interesting topic because I think that for me, right, what got us started on COVID for me was the politicization of healthcare, right?
Mhm.
And that vote in San Francisco, that like to me was very against party lines.
And how about the
Like
vote
that's the blue voting against blue.
the vote in New Jersey and the vote in Virginia for the governor, that was clear parents against child, precautions in schools. That's
So
what the
that's
voters are
the
telling.
issue that they're voting on.
Yes, absolutely. Like and that's what's going to kill the Democrats in November. Is that
Why are they
exact
not
thing.
just moving off this one?
I don't get it. Stop it. I mean, they are like most states in America. Like I said last week, are moving away from like what's happening is the governors are breaking Biden. Like they're not supporting what Biden is saying anymore because they have to because their jobs are at stake if they don't do something now. That's why you saw Murphy do it, and then all the other Democratic governors followed, except for places like California and New York. So they're breaking party lines now.
That's interesting.
They got to save themselves. I mean, it's a fight to save your job at this point.
Well, I mean, you understand the blue movement, right? To vaccinate children, and you understand the mask mandates have a lot to do with the desire to vaccinate.
Yeah. So did you see the vaccine for 6 months to 5 years is most likely not going to get FDA approval?
Thank goodness.
I know the data is bad about it. That's going to be one of my deep dives later. But.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So they're going to have to get over it that their kid at school who's really young is not going to be able to be vaccinated. Gotta get over that.
I mean, that's anyway.
Let's talk Super Bowl because I want to talk about how the NFL's rigged.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
You do all my quirky shit today.
So here's why you're gonna have a better answer, but here's why I think it's rigged in this game. Okay. So if you watch the game, they didn't call any penalties pretty much the entire game.
Thank you. I'm so happy you're talking.
I mean,
about
there
this.
was a blatant on that 75-yard touchdown with the Bengals. There was a blatant offensive pass interference face mask that I don't know how they missed. Like you see that called every game, and they just don't call it. So the whole game, no penalties. And then the Rams are driving to take the lead, 3rd down and 8 at about the 8-yard third and goal.
Yep.
And like he barely touched the guy.
Yeah.
And it was going to be an incomplete. It was going to be 4th down. They probably wouldn't have converted, and the Bengals would have won the Super Bowl. Blatant missed holding call.
Yeah.
Just ruined the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's NFL rigged right there.
So unfortunately, I had the displeasure of reading a book written by a former NBA referee.
Oh, Donahue?
Yeah. And he talked about how there's a section that he talks about that the league tried extremely hard with all of their legal talent to get not published.
Oh, I mean, NBA is brutal. It's way worse than the NFL, in my opinion.
the officiating in the NBA is extremely slanted.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's to the point now that like I've understood it to the point where I know who's reffing which games and what teams they're really bad against and all that
Mhm.
stuff. And I did this. So the NFL, registers as a WWE organization,
Meaning,
entertainment, not sports,
yeah. Why is that important?
because they've been sued many times for being rigged. And every time it does not fly.
Oh, wow.
Because they claim to be an entertainment industry like the WWE. They are not a sporting agency.
Mhm.
And so, because there's former gamblers that are
I
extremely
was just
annoyed.
say, but you can bet on the NFL. I doubt you. Can you bet on the WWE?
No. So, yeah. The fact that sports gambling is legal in an entertainment, like
Yeah.
you're literally betting on Hollywood, like that's unusual, right? Like,
Yeah.
and so, I think that for me, this was the first I had noticed it was this season, right? I had just read about the NBA. I was watching the NBA, then I started seeing the NFL. So, like, objectively speaking, right? First, it's the first play of the second half, right? First play
Mhm.
out of a half is significant because, like, if there was anything planned, you planned the first play out of the second half.
Mhm.
And the receiver somehow knows to just totally rip Jalen Ramsey's face mask and shove him to the side so he can catch a poorly thrown ball and score a touchdown. And he like, why in any world are you doing that?
Wait,
Unless you know it's not getting called.
are you saying he knew he was going to get called? That's why he did it?
I'm posturing. Why else would you do that? That was the only play of the game that was that brutal. A 75-yard touchdown right out of the
I
second
think
half.
he was just doing whatever it takes to catch the ball.
You think so?
Yeah.
And you think the ref just missed it?
The ref is the one I think is rigged. I mean,
So you think the ref is rigged?
yeah, I think the ref's rigged.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I find it extremely odd that the first play of the second, that to me feels
Yeah, it was
very
weird.
unusual.
It was
That's
weird.
weird.
And
that goes back to like, you don't know what to trust. When you know it's rigged, you
Yeah.
don't know how much of it's rigged.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part, right? But like, for me, you have a ref swallow a whistle there, and then on that third down to ensure. So you got to think about it. Let's think of the economics now, right? So anytime we're going to talk about conspiracy, we're not going to talk about conspiracy. All we're going to do is talk about economic impacts.
Mhm.
So last year, the Super Bowl was in what city?
Tampa.
And who won?
Tampa.
This year, the Super Bowl was in LA.
Mhm.
Remember I told you?
You said the Rams would win.
I called it. When did I call it?
Probably a while ago. I don't know.
At the beginning of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I said I would take the Rams. They're the 4th seed.
Yep.
I would take them to win it. That's the future. That was like a plus 1,000 bet.
Hated that they won.
I know.
Hated it.
So now you have so now let's talk about league economics. What is the largest sports market in the United States of America?
New York?
New York is not.
LA?
LA. What is the most popular sports franchise in LA?
The Lakers.
Lakers, by far.
Yeah.
So if you're the NFL, you have the opportunity with a Super Bowl in LA to penetrate the LA market. Right?
Yeah, because it's a newer team to the area. It
It's a
still
newer
hasn't
team.
really caught on.
Hasn't caught on.
Yeah.
That's 20 million people. And San Diego is a secondary fan base. Like the LA market is massive.
And they just built their stadium costs like $5 or $6 billion.
Oh,
B.
Oh, do you know who built it?
Well, Cronkite, I know, is the owner. I don't know, like literally built it.
His development company.
Okay. Cronkite's development company?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stan Kroenke,
that's his name.
is the most wealthy owner in sports.
Yeah,
he is the
loaded.
dude that made money owning teams. So he was a real estate developer, and then he started buying sports franchises.
He's a fuck, that guy.
Oh, no, he started doing deals with the city. So the city pays him to develop stadiums for his own teams.
He's such a fuck. God. Why do good things happen to bad people?
No. Good things happen to people who know how to work the system.
God.
And Kroenke knows how to work the system. The dude is awesome. He bought Arsenal in England and just literally sucked all the debt out of the team to invest in his US teams that he cares about. Because he doesn't like
That's
Premier
why
League
Arsenal
soccer.
sucks
That's
now.
why Arsenal sucks.
They're awful.
Because Kroenke owned them and took all the money out of them.
They must hate that. He probably never goes to England.
Yeah, no.
They would kill
the
him.
fans there hate him. The Tampa Bay Bucks did that too with an English club,
Did
and
they?
the fans there hate them too.
I kind of like that. That's good. I don't know. Screw over the English people.
So your owners, Fenway Sports Group, They actually own. They're the best ownership in sports, and they own Liverpool,
Mhm.
and they do a great job.
And
But
Liverpool's great.
yeah. So anyway, Kroenke, he pays Inglewood, California, to develop SoFi Stadium, then gets the Super Bowl there. Of course, they're gonna win.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, dude, the
shoulda saw it
economic
coming.
impact, and guess where the money was? 70% of the public money was on the Bengals.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty rare that they would bet on the underdog.
Funny, huh?
I guess the anti-LA bias. Just no one wants to see them win.
Well, it's right, but think of it from the league perspective. So the way that, and this is where we went wrong in the gambling department,
Yeah.
is the fact that gambling companies no longer want equal money on each side. They actually bet with sharps, and so they move the line to trick people. And I mean, how much you think that's all together? But the money was baited. They baited everyone on Bengals.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, the Bengals, if you bet on the spread, they won.
Yeah, they won the spread.
Yeah. And update on our bankroll, I did basically a Hail Mary bet, meaning if we lost the bet, we would probably pretty much be down to zero. Put it all on the Bengals, and luckily they won. Because you knew, like, in the third quarter, I was like, the Bengals are not going to score again.
No,
Like, you could just tell they were not going to score.
it was done.
And luckily they held on, and I was glad there was no overtime, because they would have lost by 7. The Rams would have won.
Yeah. I mean, and I've been telling Matt, like, the shift is futures. So let me tell you about my NBA futures bet.
Delayed gratification. Can't do that.
No, it's so much more fun because you have every game that's
Yeah,
on.
but then
You're
it's like,
cheering for a
okay, I
team.
didn't actually win or lose in this game. I have to wait till friggin' like June.
July.
July. You kidding? I might be dead in July.
You're gonna be dead.
I don't know. Like, it's a lifetime away.
So anyway, I took a Big Short. So by the way, have we ever talked Big Short?
The movie? Or just
the event, the financial event?
No, we should. It's one of my favorite movies.
Okay.
I've seen it many times.
All right. Well, we're just gonna do we want to save that for another episode?
Yeah, save that for
Let's save that for
do
another
some
episode.
research on
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild.
That is one of my favorite financial events. So anyway, I took a Big Short on the Nets this season.
Paid off.
At the beginning of the season, they were the favorites, and I was like, no way are they the favorites. So I bet on all the other teams except for the Nets. And because the Nets were the favorite, the odds actually made sense for me to financially bet on every other contender.
So who do you have?
I have Suns, Bucks, Lakers, Warriors, and I think I have those 4 teams.
So if one of them wins,
Then I'm positive.
Like double or
so if the Lakers or Bucks win, I think I win a small amount of money. If the Warriors win, I triple. That was my big bet. My big bet was the Warriors.
Mhm.
And then I just wanted to cover with everyone else. And if the Suns win, I double.
Nice.
So I have, in order of priority, Warriors, Suns, Lakers, Bucks on what
I can't imagine someone not on that list winning.
I know, right? That's what I'm telling you. The short on the Nets was the move.
Yeah.
And I have multiple opportunities. The Warriors would be the big triple. I would triple the money I put down total.
Who are the favorites now?
That's a great question.
Ooh, so the trade was Harden for Simmons,
yeah,
and a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. The only other significant piece.
I wouldn't want either of those guys. Ugh.
What?
Ugh.
No.
Maybe Ben
no.
Simmons more than Harden, but
No,
Harden.
no. You want Harden?
Now.
He's the best player. No, Daryl Morey, GM of the year, the GM of the 76ers. That trade.
Celtics just beat him by 30 last night.
Who cares?
Celtics
That was a great trade.
They've won 10 in a row, by the way. Don't look out.
Oh, do you think they have a shot? All right.
Eastern Conference Finals.
So Warriors are the current favorites.
All right, look at that.
Followed by the Suns, then followed by the Nets, then followed by the Sixers, Miami Heat.
The Nets are not winning.
I don't think so. I mean,
no chance.
We got Warriors or Suns right now. Money's running. Wow, there's some good. Man, I made the mistake of betting on the Lakers at the beginning of the season. I still think they are one of the teams that has a shot.
Not doing so hot, huh?
Oh, no. The Lakers are right where they want to be.
Oh, right where they want to be? What are they, like 7 seed right now?
So this is actually a thing. This is what LeBron does. He goes to the bottom of the bracket so he can pick his route.
Yeah, LeBron. Okay, I don't want to hear you talk about any time of LeBron on the show. All right, this is no LeBron zone.
All right, this is a no LeBron zone. All right, what do you got?
LeBron's gonna be our president in 2045. do we want to do the Blockbuster question, or I have a different question too, if you'd like? It's more of a dental related question.
Let's shoot the dental related one and then we'll go Blockbuster.
All right. Could you discuss for us lowly clueless dental students what's actually going on with dental insurance? It seems SP is in favor of being in network with insurances, but everywhere else I see stories of dentists getting out. Get out.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Give me a quick 1 minute answer on this.
SP says something. Everyone else says something else.
Tale as old as time.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. That's just like, that is things that we say that other people usually don't agree with. That's very common.
Yeah.
And we do math. So we have correct answers.
Yeah. Their opinion is based on emotions. Their practice isn't where they want it to be. So dental insurances are an easy scapegoat for them to blame and to make them feel better. That, oh, these evil corporation insurances are the reason why XYZ.
Yeah, and I think it's the only time you can have a different view is if you are a solo dentist who has no desire to be more than a solo dentist, then not taking insurance is financially profitable. For pretty much everyone else, it doesn't make sense.
Agreed. All right. Can you run over some bad business models? This is from Evan. Love hearing the good ones, but want to hear the successful businesses with models you think are terrible. So I'm going to go through.
Oh, I love that question.
I'm going to go through Blockbuster,
shoot.
and I tried to break it down into some like lessons we could learn just as business owners ourselves. So the quick intro: Blockbuster had 85,000 people employed with a revenue of 3.2 billion in 2010. They filed for Chapter 11 later in 2010. So the original strategy that got them into trouble was to open as many stores as they could across the country to grab market share. This allowed for huge operating costs to come into Blockbuster. They made a critical error by acquiring more new movie releases and regulating old movies to the back. What they found out was people actually cared a lot about old movies, so they hated when those old movies were deep in the store and when they would run out. New movies also rented faster, so customers would come in expecting to rent the new movies, and they'd always be gone. The real error they made that is bigger than anything is 15% of their revenue. Do you know this? 15% of their revenue was on late fees. That is a huge percentage of our revenue for a big company on late fees, on something that's penalizing a customer for not being responsible. So people got fed up with
this whole business model sucks.
Yeah. So they didn't listen to or understand its customers.
Yeah, that's a lack of data. Like they have no idea what people are doing.
Yeah. And the frustration with late fees was the impetus for Reed Hastings starting Netflix. He was a Blockbuster customer, was sick of these late fees. Like, I'm going to start something that doesn't have late fees. And then early on in the Netflix journey, like a few years in, they went to Blockbuster and said, "Hey, can you buy us for 50 million?"
What?
And they were laughed out of the building.
What?
Did you know that?
Oh.
Yeah.
I've always been a Netflix fan. I think that one thing that there's a lot in common between, what they're about and what we believe in. And yeah, I mean, wow. I love that story.
Crazy?
What a great story.
Here's a summary of why Blockbuster failed. So their competition evolved. The new players entered the market to challenge them. When Blockbuster started out and was popular, they were the only big player. New ones came in, Netflix and others. It never revised its business model. They needed to make the shift from brick and mortar stores to digital services. And this is what Reed Hastings told them when he offered to sell. He was going to build out their online catalog, and they didn't see that as a foreseeable future business model.
What a dumb company.
And here's the reason why. Doing so would have substantially cut revenue because they would have to invest a lot of money into creating digital services that they didn't want to do. They were after EBITDA and not what's best long-term for their own business. So they missed that buying opportunity with Netflix, and they ignored what their customers really wanted. They wanted movies that were available. They wanted the new movies. They didn't want to pay exorbitant late fees, and all of which they completely stopped listening to what their customers want. No customer feedback was really taken into account. Those are the big reasons why Blockbuster failed.
So I love this because, Evan, you want to know about bad businesses, and I think what we should talk about is general themes of poorly run businesses, right? Because I think that here, right, this story highlights big one, ignoring what the customer wants. So you, the business owner, have your own idea of what you would like to do that supersedes what people actually want. I mean, do you feel like we do that in any way? I think core sales is the only area we really do this.
I really try not to. No, nothing comes to mind. There might be something.
So the other one, this is a big one. Like the biggest reason why.
I got one.
Yeah.
I think our customers have pushed a lot for online courses, like digital courses they can access. That's one we've not listened to. We have not listened to. Well, we've listened, taken into account, but haven't acted.
I mean, the fact that we are aware of the concern and we are knowingly not listening to it and it's the one that sticks out to us, means that we generally like to consider this.
Yeah.
But in this situation, we just feel strongly about it and we're choosing to not do that and all the financial repercussions. Anyway, so the short-term profit-focused company.
Yes.
This is in my opinion, the largest reason. So Evan, I'm going to shoot you up one. If you want to look this up, the car shortage right now, the reason car shortage exists is because car companies are brutally cheap with their inventory on hand to keep their short-term profits high. And then in any major disruption to the supply chain, are screwed. So that's in general, right? Like we talk about, so in SP, we have these 3 tenets: profitable, simple, sustainable. And each one of them are areas where businesses go wrong, right? So profitable, right? You have somebody who just has a poorly, like just not a good business model, right? That's not going to go well. Simple, this is a big one. You have people that obnoxiously complicate operations to the point where it cannot be done efficiently. Matt, do you want to talk about this? I feel like this is a more nuanced topic of what people don't do well.
Complicated operations.
Like Blockbuster, right? Like they don't have a seamless way. Like the fact that 15% of their late fees of revenue comes from late fees, like that's a really complicated business model that like doesn't make a lot of sense and is not streamlined. So whatever process you go about, like, your business processes have to be simple, understandable, repeatable,
Yeah, I think of like I've seen a lot of businesses come onto Shark Tank and they'll have one like flagship product and they'll try to offer all these other different products that are kind of ancillary to that, and they're always like, focus on this one that's your big seller before you start adding on more things, making things more complicated.
Yeah, like In-N-Out Burger is the one that does this the best, right? You can have like the single burger, the single cheeseburger, or the double cheeseburger with French fries. Like, what a simple menu. And then the last one, and this is the one that's the most important, is sustainable, right? For you, the operator, the business model has to be sustainable. And what Reed Hastings walked into Blockbuster and told them is, hey, your business model is not sustainable. I have a long-term sustainable pivot for you. And these guys didn't do that.
Yeah. Here is the takeaways I have, and they're pretty similar to what you just said. So, traditional businesses have to adopt the digital world, right? Like, don't think your brand strength is going to get you through anything, and that's basically what Blockbuster did. They
Department stores.
Yeah, there you go. And then the long-term sustainable, like always adapt to the best long-term, best practice, sustainable revenue model. They didn't. They focused on what worked in the 90s and not what's going to work in the 2000s. Big downfall. And then like the sustainability thing, like they pretended that their business is going to last forever. You got to adapt to what your customer wants, to the changing, dynamics in the market. And they didn't do any of that. They just, that's going to be too expensive. That's going to cause, too much of an investment. So we're not going to do it. It's going to hurt profit. They pretty much violated every, like, don't do this to run a business principle.
So this is the part that I had a hard time initially understanding, is people that have large companies that move around a lot of money, that make a lot of money, can make dumb decisions.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like an unusual concept to kind of get your mind around, is that like you got a lot of money at stake, a lot of really smart people at the table, and because of the wrong focus, you can take the entire company in the wrong direction. And their focus was clearly on short-term profit, right? Like they were just worried about next quarter, their shareholders, like that was their day-to-day life. And you miss the fact that your company's business model won't last more than 5 years. Like
I've read things that Steve Ballmer's made a lot of mistakes like that at Microsoft, and they're finally like cleaning up now. Do you know much about that?
Yeah, so
he really put them back.
So Steve Ballmer was the second CEO of Microsoft after Bill Gates stepped down, I believe. I believe that's the case. And where he really screwed them over was Windows Phone.
Oh, yeah.
So Windows Phone, he was very late into getting into the smartphone game. And that really hurt Microsoft, because then if you notice, Android and iOS, Apple, Google became the two biggest sort of software platforms for cell phones, and for Apple, hardware and software. And then Microsoft now is a very third long-term tertiary idea, where their Nokia acquisition that they had and their move into smartphones was delayed greatly. And now they might even have what some could consider one of the best smartphone products with Windows 10 on the phone. But no one will ever know because they just timed it wrong.
But their new CEO is supposed to be dynamite.
Yeah, he's great. He's totally turned it around.
Yeah, like they're a huge player now again.
But not in the smartphone game though. So they kind of gave up on that. But where they really moved was competing with Zoom. Microsoft. So they're really moving into the modern workspace.
I hate Microsoft Teams. It's awful.
I know, but that's their big their big pivot is to move into their software services. Because I think that's the thing is hardware companies are long term making the pivot to software companies.
You see, they had a $75 billion deal of the video game Activision.
Oh, really? They bought Activision?
Yeah.
No,
the ones who make
they make like Tony Hawk and like a lot of cool like action sports.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Microsoft is doing great things from what I hear.
Wow, Matt. Hey, let's get a so I don't know how much you know this. My favorite person is the CEO of Google, Sundar Pichai.
I knew it was going to be the CEO of Google. I had that in my head before you said it.
In this whole space of the big three tech giants,
he's a genius.
He is my favorite person. He came up through Android. So he came up through the Android department, was the head of Android, and then became the CEO of Google. I think it was Larry Page that stepped down.
Google is just a money printing machine.
Yeah.
It is insane.
It is the best business, I think. And
it's like grows so much even quarter over quarter.
Yeah.
Like, it's insanity.
And their business model is so light, right? Like it's one of those that it doesn't require a lot of people and it's super scalable. It's just paid ads on search. Like that is the way they make money.
As someone in a people business, I'm so jealous of that. I just am. I love our people, but like for a company to scale like ours, it just requires people at every step. Like you just can't get around that.
Yeah.
And I'm so jealous of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, right? And I think that's where like, well, for us, right? Like you and I, Matt, as partners here, it's our job, the six of us to pivot our company over time to move towards the best business models in our industry. And that is what Blockbuster should have done. They should have pivoted their company to move towards the best business models in their industry. And, I think that's like, Google, they pivoted into the best way to monetize web traffic.
Yeah.
Paid ads. Like Google, Facebook, those two companies figured it out. Really, really impressive.
No, Facebook's doing all kinds of weird stuff.
I mean, like that whole side of the Mark Zuckerberg political part, like we'll leave that out. Their business model, very sound.
Yeah. No, I don't know. But no, I mean more like the meta stuff.
What meta stuff?
With Facebook, like that pivoted to changing their name, to changing their focus to their, I don't even know what these things are, virtual reality, AR stuff. You haven't followed that at all?
I have not followed this. Okay. No. The last thing I looked up about Facebook was I looked up their profit margin was 33%.
Damn.
Their net profit. Like that, for have a company of that size with that amount of revenue, 33% profit. I mean, Amazon is just so overinflated compared to these companies.
Well, send us more questions, everyone. bdppod.com, please. We one question a week. It's just not cutting it.
Well, I mean, I have a lot of topics, so I got. So there's.
You got a quick one we want to finish on, or?
Oh, do you want a quick topic?
Yeah.
All right. Well, here's a quick topic then. So I wrote this down. So I am currently right now about to book my honeymoon, and I'm going in and out of London. So there's a direct Phoenix to London flight. So I'm just going to take that both ways, and then I'm going to figure out what the hell to do in Europe when the time's closer. And I think it's getting close now to the point where I know what things should be like. And you listed a group of countries: UK, Norway, Sweden, Denmark.
Yep. Yeah, the Scandinavian countries are a safe bet for you.
Yeah, so that might be the way, because initially I was going to do France, Spain, Switzerland, Italy, and that doesn't seem great.
Because you're not going to qualify as fully vaccinated, right?
I am within the last 6 months
with the J&J.
Yeah, I have my single J&J.
When did you get it though?
November. So
12, 1, 2.
It's 6 months 4. Is May. I did this very strategically.
Okay.
To get all my vaccine trips out of the way.
Sure, it's 6 months with J&J?
No.
I'm gonna look that up.
Okay, but is it 2?
Yeah, I've seen 2 floating around.
2 months?
I don't know if that was like a recommendation or like an actual thing that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to figure out what the hell I'm doing. So anyway, that for me, I'm really close to getting the American status.
Well, what are we? Are you wanting like, beach vibes. What are you looking for on this honeymoon here?
So it's a backpacking trip. So I want to be in a different place every day.
Okay.
So we do one night per city usually.
What do you like to do? Like more outdoor stuff? Or
I like historical cities a lot.
Uh-huh.
So for me, on the surface, right? Like, is Belgium a good spot too, or not?
I've never
really?
been, but I've heard really good things.
No. What about the COVID? I'm just talking COVID.
Oh, I actually don't know about Belgium.
So
probably similar to France.
let me do some.
Netherlands also removed theirs.
Can you actually make me a special COVID Corner Europe edition? For me to do this, it would take forever to get to the learning curve of knowing about COVID, what you do.
Yeah, I think you'd really like, COVID aside, Belgium, Netherlands, that type of area. You can go into Germany from there if you want. You can obviously start in France. That area is great. Amsterdam's awesome.
I really want to
Love
see Amsterdam. Yeah.
So good. Can't recommend that more.
Okay.
And I have the best restaurant in Amsterdam you will ever have in your entire life.
What is it called?
Restaurant Dornier. It's a tasting menu. Absolutely insanity.
Okay, I put Restaurant Dorney on my.
One of those places where the chef came and like personally greeted us at our table.
Wow.
And he was I really liked him. He was like an entrepreneur. He was in his 30s. This is his first restaurant. He's really like putting himself out there. Like obviously super skilled. Has worked in like one of the famous restaurants. And he made his own thing. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool meeting him.
Well, yeah, I'm excited. I'll get a personal COVID corner next week, and I think that the best part about this is backpacking. I've fallen in love with it. It is the freest, funnest feeling. Just walking around a random place in all of your belongings on your back, and you can just be ultra light travel. Like it's the
great.
most freeing thing.
Re-wearing those underwear and socks, stinky. Who cares? Just put them back in the rotation.
No, I mean I have.
You can pack enough to not have to re-wear stuff.
Yeah, I don't rewear things.
Okay.
No. So the way you do it is you have daytime outfits and nighttime outfits. And your daytimes are like athletic wear that you can get dirty single time use. And then you shower and then you wear your nighttime outfits and you don't pack as many, but you only wear them after a shower to dinner before bed.
Have you taken a train in Europe before?
Yeah.
Oh, life-changing experience.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Train from Paris to Amsterdam. You're there in 3 hours and you get on there. It's nice. You get a full meal, alcohol included. It's just like you never find that in America. Like Amtraks are disgusting and slow and unreliable. And you get to Europe, it's just like everything's on time, super nice, great way to get around.
Maybe you're changing my trip here to be like a Scandinavian train thing.
Yeah, I don't know, but I've never been to Scandinavia, but
well, isn't that kind of all these countries are Scandinavia? Is that not?
No, Scandinavia is like Norway, Finland.
Yeah, you said Norway was.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a different trip. Like you could either do like the Belgium, Amsterdam, that area, or you could do Scandinavia. I mean,
dude, I don't think you understand what I can do backpacking.
I don't know how you get from like Central Europe to Scandinavia.
Take an airplane.
Oh, you'd fly.
Of course.
Yeah, that would be good.
No, dude, my first trip that I had planned before this COVID pivot was London, Paris, Madrid, Barcelona, Nice. I went like 7 cities in Italy.
Yeah, you're better off doing this. I mean, the pictures out of Norway are like insanity. Okay. So pretty.
All right, I'll talk to Kaylee about it. We'll see how it goes. Yeah,
and that would be is that right after the wedding?
Yeah, it's the day after.
Okay, so that'd be end of April, early May. So yeah, it would be warm enough, I think, over there.
It should be.
That's
awesome.
Good.
Well, anyway, this is
off?
a great episode. Yeah, let's sign off. And thank you for listening to the $1 Billion Podcast on this $1 Billion couch with a couple $1 Billion guys talking about some $1 Billion companies.
The $1 Billion fake mask.
FakeMaskUSA.com. Or wait, what's their new URL?
FakeMaskWorldwide.com.
FakeMaskWorldwide.com.